The fluorescent lights in the execution chamber hum like insects trapped in glass. Daniel Mercer stands in chains, wrists cuffed in front of him, ankles shackled, a former K-9 handler about to be put to death for murdering a fellow officer. Behind reinforced glass, witnesses lean forward. News cameras wait outside the facility gates. A digital clock on the wall shows less than 2 hours until the sentence is carried out. The steel door at the back opens. A gray-muzzled German shepherd steps in, posture steady, ears forward, leash held short by Sergeant Lucas Grant. The dog's name is Titan. He does not pull. He does not whine. He moves with disciplined precision, scanning the sterile room the way he once cleared dark warehouses. Daniel's voice breaks only once. "Heel," he whispers out of instinct, though Titan is no longer his to command. Titan's head turns sharply toward Daniel. His nose works the air in short, focused breaths. The room tightens. Even the guards stop shifting. Titan takes one slow step forward. Then he freezes. Not with affection. Not with confusion. With trained alert. His body goes rigid. His gaze locks somewhere Daniel cannot see. If a dog trained to detect truth is reacting like this on execution morning, what did he just uncover? If you believe loyalty can outlive lies, stay with brave K-9 stories and tell us below. Can a dog expose a killer when the system failed? The corridor outside death row feels narrower than usual. Every sound carries. The scrape of boots. The jingle of keys. The distant metallic slam of a secured door sealing behind another. Daniel Mercer walks between two correctional officers, chains moving with each step. His posture is upright. Not defiant. Not broken. Just steady. Execution mornings follow strict timing. Paperwork is double-checked. Witness lists verified. Medical staff alerted. Warden Margaret Holloway stands near the checkpoint leading to the execution wing, a clipboard held close to her chest. Her voice is firm but not unkind. Daniel Mercer. Final request approved. One controlled meeting with retired K-9 Titan. No physical contact without clearance. Daniel nods once. "Yes, ma'am." No one speaks about the clock. But everyone feels it. Through a secured sally port on the opposite side of the chamber, Sergeant Lucas Grant enters with Titan. The German shepherd moves with disciplined precision despite his age. His muzzle is dusted with gray. His hips show the faint stiffness of years worked hard. But his eyes are sharp, clear, observing. Lucas pauses just inside the threshold. "Titan, heel." Titan aligns immediately to Lucas's left side. Perfect placement. Shoulder even with Lucas's leg. "Sit." Titan sits. Spine straight. Heel still. Head level. Daniel's breath catches for just a second. He had prepared himself for anything. Anger, confusion, even indifference. But what he sees unsettles him more than rejection would. Titan is not reacting emotionally. He is working. The interview chamber adjacent to the execution wing is sterile and tight. A reinforced glass panel separates official witnesses from the central space. The prison psychologist, Dr. Elaine Porter, leans slightly forward, notebook open. Two senior corrections officers stand near the walls. The air feels compressed. Daniel is guided to a marked position on the floor. Chains limit his movement. He lowers his hands slowly in front of him. 4 years Titan had been his partner. 12 years on patrol. Hundreds of deployments. Titan had learned Daniel's breathing patterns, foot placement, pulse shifts before a pursuit. They had shared danger, cold nights, adrenaline, quiet mornings. There should have been recognition. Some sign. Instead, Titan remains motionless. Daniel notices something small. Titan's nose is not lifting toward his face. It is angled lower, drawing air around Daniel's upper torso. Shoulders. Puller. The breathing changes, short, rapid pulls. Cataloging. Lucas keeps his tone even. Stay. Titan holds position. There is no tail wag. No whine. No lunge. Just analysis. Lucas shifts slightly. Search. The command is quiet, controlled. Titan stands smoothly and begins a slow circle around Daniel, leash kept short. Every movement measured. No rushing. The witnesses murmur faintly behind the glass. Daniel feels his heart beat harder against his ribs. He forces himself to stay still. In training, he had always trusted Titan's instincts over his own. Titan passes Daniel's front once. No reaction. Moves to his right side. Then behind him. Titan pauses. His nose presses closer to the fabric at Daniel's left shoulder blade. Inhales deeply. Once. Daniel feels a strange chill run along his spine. A place on his back that has ached in damp weather for years without clear explanation. Titan stiffens. Not aggression. Not fear. Focus. The muscles along his back tighten. His ears angle forward. Hackles lift slightly, not raised in threat, but in heightened alert. Dr. Porter straightens. Warden Holloway's grip tightens on her clipboard. Titan gives one sharp bark. Single. Clean. Controlled. The sound snaps through the chamber like a dropped plate. Lucas freezes. He knows that bark. It is not random. It is not emotional. It is Titan's train detection signal. The same one he used when identifying narcotics, explosives, or a suspect hiding beyond a wall. Titan does not bark again. He remains fixed at Daniel's back, body rigid. Daniel swallows hard. "What is it, boy?" he whispers without thinking. Lucas does not answer immediately. His eyes stay on Titan. Behind the glass, someone presses closer. The clock continues counting down. Lucas steps carefully toward Daniel's left side, eyes narrowing. "That alert," he says quietly, almost to himself. He only gives that when he finds something specific. Titan does not move. He does not blink. The room feels smaller. Daniel's chains clink faintly as he shifts, confusion mixing with dread. Lucas looks at the warden. Permission to inspect the area the dog indicated? There is hesitation. The execution schedule looms. But the warden nods once. Lucas moves closer to Daniel's back. Titan remains locked in place. And for the first time that morning, the certainty of what was about to happen in 2 hours begins to fracture. The sharp bark still echoes in the sterile chamber when the first voice breaks the tension. A correctional officer near the wall lets out a low scoff. "Guess the dog remembers what he did." A quiet ripple moves through the witness gallery behind reinforced glass. Someone shifts. Chair leg scrapes. The prosecutor's representative assigned to observe the execution folds his arms and smirks. "Interesting," he says flatly. Even the dog reacts. That says something. Daniel feels the words hit harder than the chains around his wrists. The same narrative from the trial. The same weapon used against him. Ranger, now Titan, had barked in chaos that night at the warehouse, and prosecutors had twisted it into betrayal. Even your own dog knew. Sergeant Lucas Grant does not react emotionally. He keeps his eyes on Titan. "That is not an aggression cue," Lucas says calmly. "That is detection." The prosecutor lifts a brow. Detection of what? Regret. A faint, uneasy laugh escapes someone in the gallery. Behind the glass, a reporter mouths the word "unbelievable" and scribbles rapidly in a notebook. Warden Margaret Holloway remains silent, but her posture tightens. She has seen trained dogs work in prison searches. She knows the difference between emotional reactivity and a task-based alert. Deputy Commissioner Harold Vance steps forward from the witness section, authorized to be present as a representative of the state. He is older now, hair thinned and silvered, but his authority remains intact. Years ago, he oversaw Daniel Mercer's arrest and publicly declared the case airtight. "Let's not turn this into theater," Vance says sharply. "Dogs react emotionally. This proves nothing." Daniel lowers his gaze for a moment. Humiliation floods back like cold water. Courtroom flashbulbs. Headlines. The image of Titan barking while officers dragged Daniel away in handcuffs. They said the dog turned on him. That it was instinct. Proof. But Daniel knows something others do not. Titan's tail remains neutral. Not tucked. Not wagging. Not raised in challenge. Working. Titan's eyes are not fixed on Daniel's face. They shift briefly toward the back of the room. Daniel sees it. Subtle movement. Titan's head tilts just slightly toward the exit door. Standing there, rigid and silent, is Lieutenant Mark Rains, a uniformed corrections lieutenant assigned to oversee high-security protocols today. His jaw is tight. His hands clasped behind his back. When Titan's gaze flicks to him, Rains looks away too quickly. Daniel's stomach tightens. Lucas notices Titan's shift but keeps control. Focus. Titan redirects immediately, attention snapping back to Daniel's shoulder area. Check. Titan steps in again, nose pressing close to the left shoulder blade through fabric. Short, concentrated inhalations. The psychologist behind the glass leans forward, pen paused mid-air. Vance exhales loudly. This is absurd. Lucas looks to the warden. Ma'am, the dog indicated a specific area. Request permission to inspect. There is hesitation. The clock continues its quiet countdown toward the scheduled execution. Margaret Holloway understands the weight of interruption. But she also understands liability. If something legitimate is unfolding and she ignores it, history will not be kind. She nods once. Proceed. Briefly. Lucas moves carefully, mindful of Daniel's restraints. A corrections officer steps closer to maintain control. Daniel's prison shirt is lifted slightly at the collar. The fluorescent light catches pale skin that has not seen sun in years. Near the left shoulder blade. A faint, narrow scar. Linear. Not surgical. Not accidental. The room inhales collectively. That wasn't in the trial record, Dr. Porter murmurs quietly. Vance's expression hardens. Old injuries happen. Lucas traces the air just above the scar without touching it. This shape is consistent with a blade entry wound. Daniel swallows. His voice drops to a near whisper. I was never stabbed. The words hang there heavy. Because if Daniel was stabbed before the shooting that night, then someone attacked him first. Titan steps back half a pace and sits, posture formal. His ears remain forward. His eyes shift once more, briefly, toward Lieutenant Rains near the door. And this time Daniel sees it clearly. Titan is not reacting to guilt. He is remembering something. The sight of the scar fractures something in Daniel's memory. The execution chamber fades. The hum of fluorescent lights becomes the hiss of rain against metal. Years earlier, an abandoned warehouse near the riverfront. Cold rain striking corrugated roofing. Puddles forming in broken concrete seams. Daniel Mercer moves in formation with Titan at his side, leash loose but controlled. Track, Daniel had commanded quietly that night. Titan lowered his nose to the wet ground, following the scent trail through the open loading dock. Inside the building felt wrong. Too quiet. No machinery hum. No shifting footsteps. Just the hollow echo of water dripping somewhere in the dark. Backup had been requested. Backup had been late. Daniel remembers checking his radio. Static. A broken response. Unit delayed. Hold position. Procedure said wait. But Titan had already picked up movement deeper inside. Daniel signaled forward. They cleared corners methodically. Flashlight beam cutting across stacked pallets and metal shelving. Titan's body language shifted near a narrow staircase leading to an upper catwalk. He hesitated. Ears forward. Body rigid. Hold, Daniel had whispered. Titan froze in place. Daniel stepped ahead one pace, scanning the staircase. Nothing visible. Rain hit the roof harder. The sound masked smaller noises. Daniel remembers the feeling before the impact. That tightening in his chest. The sense of being watched. He made a decision that would later matter. He reached to his chest and manually activated his body camera. The small red light blinked alive. That footage, years later, would be labeled corrupted. Unrecoverable. In court it became a footnote. Now the memory feels sharper. Titan had shifted left suddenly. A low warning rumble in his throat. Daniel turned. Impact. A crushing blow from behind. He stumbled forward. Then a sharp, burning pain exploded across his left shoulder blade. He had not understood it at the time. Just heat, pressure. Breath knocked from his lungs. He fell to one knee. Titan lunged past him. There had been a second figure. Daniel hears it now in fragments. A voice close to his ear. Whoa. Urgent. Stay down. Gunshots cracked in the darkness. Another officer, Thomas Ridley, went down near the far wall. Chaos erupted. Titan barked wildly, not at Daniel, but beyond him. Toward someone Daniel could not see through blurred vision and rain-streaked light. Daniel tried to stand. Pain flared in his back. His hands were slick with blood, Ridley's blood. By the time backup finally entered, Daniel was kneeling beside the fallen officer. Titan barking at shadows. The narrative wrote itself from that image. Daniel shot his partner. The dog reacted. Case closed. Back in the present, Daniel's breathing grows uneven. The memory is no longer fogged. It is sharp. I turned it on, he murmurs. Lucas glances at him. Turned what on? My camera. I activated it. Deputy Commissioner Vance scoffs softly. The footage was corrupted. That was addressed at trial. Daniel's eyes lift slowly. Or deleted. Silence stretches. Lucas shifts his focus. Ma'am, request medical intake records from Mercer's original transfer. Warden Holloway signals to a nurse stationed nearby. The nurse accesses digital files on a secured tablet. Long pause. No stab wound recorded at intake, the nurse says. Minor contusions. No penetrating injury documented. Daniel closes his eyes briefly. If prison intake did not record a stab wound, that means the injury was already healing when he arrived. Which means it happened before his arrest. Lucas looks at the scar again. The shape is narrow. Not recent. Not superficial. Behind the glass, Dr. Porter writes rapidly. Daniel speaks quietly, piecing it together. I thought I just fell wrong. I don't remember anyone treating it. Titan shifts slightly but remains seated, steady, focused. The room feels different now. The earlier mockery replaced with tension. If Daniel was stabbed before the shooting, then someone attacked him first. And Titan remembered. The chamber feels heavier now, as if the air itself has thickened. The scar, the memory, the alert. None of it fits the clean narrative that carried Daniel Mercer to death row. Deputy Commissioner Harold Vance steps forward, jaw tight. This is spiraling, he says firmly. An animal's behavior is not grounds to halt an execution. We are not rewriting a jury verdict because of a bark. Warden Margaret Holloway does not immediately answer. She is calculating risk, legal exposure, public fallout, moral weight. Lucas remains composed beside Titan, leash steady in his grip. Daniel feels it, the flicker of hope trying to rise. And the familiar hand of authority pushing it back down. Vance pulls his phone from his jacket and turns slightly away, though not far enough to avoid being overheard. His voice lowers but carries. Yes, we have a situation, he says into the line. The handler is interpreting normal canine behavior as some kind of forensic revelation. It's emotional interference. We need to stay on schedule. He listens. Understood. I'll contain it. Daniel's chest tightens. The words feel rehearsed. Contain it. He leans slightly toward Lucas, keeping his voice barely above a whisper. He's trying to bury this again. Lucas does not look at him, but his jaw shifts subtly. He has worked long enough in law enforcement to recognize political pressure when he sees it. Titan's ears snap sharply toward Vance mid-call. Not sudden. Not chaotic. Precise. A low rumble escapes his chest. Not a full growl, but a controlled warning breath. Lucas reacts immediately. Leave it. Titan obeys without hesitation. The rumble stops. His posture remains upright and steady. That obedience matters. A dog acting emotionally would escalate. Titan does not. He resumes stillness, but his eyes do not return to Daniel. They slide, deliberate and focused, toward the rear of the room. Lieutenant Mark Rains stands near the exit door, posture rigid. Arms folded now instead of clasped behind his back. His face appears composed, but a faint sheen of sweat glints under the fluorescent light. Titan's stare is unwavering. Lucas notices. He does not immediately redirect. Instead, he subtly shifts his stance, allowing Titan's body a clearer line of sight. Vance ends his call and turns back toward the room. The Attorney General's office expects this to proceed. We cannot allow theatrics. Dr. Porter speaks carefully. With respect, sir, there are now 3 independent irregularities. An undocumented penetrating injury, the dog's trained alert, and the resurfaced memory of manual camera activation. Vance cuts her off. Memory is unreliable under stress. And dogs are not forensic experts. Titan's ears remain forward. Daniel watches Titan instead of Vance now. He remembers Titan's training, the discipline, the refusal to react without cause. Titan had never barked on patrol unless he was certain. Lucas adjusts his grip slightly. "Ma'am," he says to the warden, "the dog has redirected twice. That is not random." Margaret Holloway follows Titan's gaze. Lieutenant Rains shifts his weight subtly. But noticeable. Titan stands without command. Lucas tightens the leash immediately but does not correct him. Titan takes one controlled step forward. The leash pulls taut. No lunge. No bark. Just locked eye contact. Rains forces a small, dismissive smile. He's just scanning movement. That's what they do. But his voice is thinner than before. Daniel's pulse pounds in his ears. Titan's body language changes slightly. Front weight shifted forward, muscles engaged, tail neutral but firm. Working posture. Lucas does not issue a new command. He waits. 'Cause this is not disobedience. This is focus. The room feels suspended between procedure and revelation. Vance steps slightly toward Rains as if to close the visual line, to block Titan's direct sight. Titan adjusts instantly, shifting half a step sideways to maintain his angle. Precision. The psychologist inhales sharply. Warden Holloway's eyes narrow. Titan takes one more deliberate step forward. The leash snaps tight in Lucas's hand. And for the 3rd time that morning, the German shepherd's gaze fixes unblinking on Lieutenant Mark Rains. Not Daniel. Not Vance. Vance. The clock continues its steady countdown. But something far more dangerous than time has just begun. The tension in the execution chamber is no longer subtle. It is visible in posture, in breath, in silence. Titan remains fixed on Lieutenant Mark Rains, body angled forward, weight balanced, leash drawn tight in Sergeant Lucas Grant's steady grip. Lucas makes a decision. "Lieutenant," he says evenly, "step forward, please." Rains does not move. "This is inappropriate," Rains replies. "I am here to oversee security, not participate in some improvised canine experiment." Lucas does not argue. His voice remains calm. Controlled scent check. Standard procedure in active investigations. "There is no investigation," Rains snaps. Deputy Commissioner Harold Vance steps in quickly. "This is absurd. We are not turning this facility into a dog trial." Titan's ears flick once, but his gaze never leaves Rains. Lucas lowers his tone slightly. Titan is not reacting randomly. He's indicating a target memory response. Vance gives a short, dismissive laugh. "You are saying the dog remembers a smell from years ago?" Titan barks. Dark. Evenly spaced. Not frantic. Not aggressive. The room falls silent. Lucas's grip tightens slightly. He knows that signal. 2 barks in that cadence mean positive match confirmation to a trained scent profile. Warden Holloway's eyes move from Lucas to Titan and back again. Explain. Lucas inhales slowly. Titan was cross-trained in trauma scent recall. It's a specialized program. Dogs can associate adrenaline spikes, blood scent, and stress pheromones from critical incidents. It's not common, but it's documented. Dr. Elaine Porter nods from behind the glass. Trauma-linked scent memory in canines has been observed in long-term working dogs, especially German Shepherds with repeated exposure to high-stress events. Vance folds his arms tighter. We are seriously entertaining the idea that a dog has preserved a molecular memory for years. Yes, Lucas replies without hesitation. Rains shifts his stance again. Sweat beads at his temple despite the cool room. I'm not participating in this, Rains says, voice tight. You have no legal grounds. Daniel watches him. And something clicks. Tone. Cadence. A whisper cutting through rain and gunfire. Stay down. Daniel's breath catches. The warehouse returns in sharp fragments. Cold concrete. The metallic taste of blood. A blade in his shoulder. A voice close to his ear. Stay down. Daniel lifts his head slowly, eyes locking onto Rains. It was you, he says quietly. Rains stiffens. That's delusional. Daniel's voice steadies, stronger now. You were behind me. Vance steps forward sharply. That's enough. Mercer's memory is unreliable. He's facing execution. Trauma distorts perception. Titan does not react to Vance's movement. He is watching Rains. Lucas speaks again. Lieutenant, step forward. Voluntarily. Or I request security assist. The other corrections officers in the room exchange uncertain glances. Rains outranks them within the facility chain of command. For a moment, it looks as if the authority structure will win. Rains forces a thin smile. You want me to indulge this? Fine. He steps forward. Slowly. Titan's body tenses, but he does not lunge. Lucas keeps the leash short. Stand still. Rain stands 2 steps away from Daniel. Titan inhales deeply once. Then again. His posture shifts. Controlled. Measured. He steps forward 1 pace within leash range. And sits. Directly in front of Lieutenant Mark Rains. Spine straight. Eyes locked upward. Formal suspect indication posture. The same posture Titan had used dozens of times during narcotic searches and suspect lineups. No barking now. No growling. Just certainty. The silence in the chamber is no longer skeptical. It is heavy. Because Titan has just chosen his target. And it is not the man in chains. The chamber feels unstable now. Authority, routine, certainty. All of it strained thin. Lieutenant Mark Rains stares down at Titan seated in front of him. The dog's gaze unblinking. This is harassment, Rains says sharply. I am not a suspect. I am a corrections lieutenant. This is inappropriate. He takes 1 step backward. 2 corrections officers instinctively shift position near the door, not aggressively, but enough to block a clear exit path. You are obstructing me, Rains snaps. Deputy Commissioner Vance moves quickly to his side. Let him pass. This has gone far enough. Warden Margaret Holloway does not move. Her eyes remain on Titan. Her responsibility is clear. Maintain protocol. Proceed with execution. Avoid disruption. But if there is even a possibility of wrongful conviction unfolding in front of her, protocol becomes secondary. Rains attempts another step toward the door. Hold position, Holloway says firmly. The room freezes. Rains laughs once, brittle. On what grounds? Titan remains seated. Lucas speaks carefully. Ma'am, request authorization for controlled scent comparison. Vance turns sharply. You are not conducting field tests in a death chamber. Lucas does not argue. He reaches slowly into a secure evidence pouch attached to his belt. I brought this in compliance with K9 unit documentation, he says calmly. Archived property from the original warehouse case. Cleared for demonstration. He produces a sealed evidence bag. Inside, an old leatherwork glove, labeled with date and case number. Daniel's pulse pounds. He remembers that glove. It had been found near the staircase the night of the shooting. It was entered into evidence but never tied conclusively to anyone. Lucas crouches slightly and presents the sealed bag to Titan. Track. Titan stands. Lucas opens the bag just enough to allow scent exposure without compromising chain of custody. Titan inhales deeply over the glove. His posture shifts subtly. Ears forward, muscles engaged, eyes narrowing with focus. Lucas reseals the evidence bag immediately. Then he steps to the side, giving Titan a clear path within leash length. Check. Titan moves. Not toward Daniel. Toward Rains. The movement is small. Too small for someone unfamiliar with threat assessment to notice. But Sergeant Lucas Grant sees it. Titan sees it first. Lieutenant Mark Rains's hand slides under his uniform shirt near his waistband, fingers curling inward with practiced familiarity. Hands where I can see them, Warden Holloway commands sharply. Rains freezes for half a second. Then everything breaks. In one sudden motion, he yanks a compact backup firearm from the small of his back. Gasps erupt from behind the reinforced glass. Someone shouts. A chair scrapes violently against the floor. Weapon! One of the guards yells. The room explodes into motion. Daniel cannot move far in his chains, but instinct drives him backward against the wall. Rains raises the weapon, unclear whether in panic or intent, but his arm is fully extended before anyone can close the distance. Lucas does not hesitate. Take it! The command is clear, sharp, practiced. Titan launches. No hesitation. No wild aggression. Pure training. He covers the short distance in a single powerful leap, jaws locking onto Rains's weapon wrist with a precision bite. No shaking. No tearing. A firm, controlled hold exactly where trained. The firearm discharges once into the ceiling tile, a deafening crack in the enclosed chamber. Debris falls. Titan adjusts his weight downward, forcing Rains's wrist toward the floor. The grip is secure but measured, bite pressure calibrated to immobilize without unnecessary damage. Rains screams in shock more than pain. Guards surge forward from both sides. One strikes the weapon free. Another tackles Rains around the shoulders, slamming him to the ground. The firearm skids across the polished floor and is kicked away. Titan maintains his hold until Lucas reaches him. Out! Instantly, Titan releases and steps back, sitting in formal control position despite the chaos around him. Rains is pinned face down, both arms secured behind his back. The bite mark on his wrist begins to darken beneath broken skin, a mirror of the old scar on his forearm. The room smells faintly of gunpowder. Behind the glass, witnesses are frozen in stunned silence. Daniel watches it all with wide eyes. He had seen Titan take down armed suspects before. But this is different. Titan is older now, slower in his joints. And he still moved without hesitation, still protected, still intervened at the exact moment of necessity. Daniel's chest tightens, not with fear this time but with something heavier. Loyalty. Rains struggles against the guards. Get him off me. That dog attacked an officer. He engaged an armed threat, Lucas says evenly, stepping forward and placing a steady hand on Titan's collar. Titan's breathing is elevated but controlled. No snarling. No loss of discipline. Eyes alert, scanning for further danger. The hard boundary has been crossed. An officer just drew a concealed weapon inside an execution chamber. There is no dismissing this as coincidence. Deputy Commissioner Vance looks shaken for the first time. You've just escalated this beyond repair, he says, though his voice lacks its earlier authority. Warden Holloway's tone is ice. Lieutenant Rains, you will remain restrained pending immediate investigation. Rains twists his head toward Daniel, eyes blazing with fury. You think this proves anything, he shouts. You have no idea what really happened. The words hang there. Not denial. Not innocence. A warning. Daniel feels the implication settle deep in his stomach. There is more. More than a stabbing. More than a frame-up. More than a single corrupt officer. Titan stands calmly at Lucas's side, leash once again secure, posture neutral. But the chamber is no longer an execution site. It is a crime scene. And whatever happened in that warehouse years ago has just resurfaced with teeth. Rains lifts his head from the floor, breath ragged. "You don't know who you're protecting," he spits. The clock on the wall continues counting down. But now, no one in the room is thinking about the execution. They are thinking about what Rains just tried to prevent from being exposed. And what he is still not saying. The chamber smells of burned insulation and adrenaline. The weapon lies several feet away, secured under a guard's boot. Another officer clears it properly. Magazine removed, chamber checked, slide locked back. The round that struck the ceiling has left a clean hole in the tile, powder dust drifting slowly down. Lieutenant Mark Rains is hauled upright and forced into a chair against the far wall. His wrists are cuffed behind him now, legs restrained. The bite on his wrist is wrapped quickly by a medical tech, enough to stop bleeding but not conceal the injury. Titan stands at Lucas's side, breathing steady again, eyes alert but no longer fixed on threat. Protocol shifts immediately. Warden Margaret Holloway steps into command voice. This facility is now under internal security lockdown. All recording devices remain active. No one leaves this room. Deputy Commissioner Harold Vance begins to speak, but his voice carries less weight than it did minutes ago. "This is a misunderstanding." Rains panic. That does not retroactively invalidate a conviction. An armed corrections lieutenant drawing a concealed weapon inside an execution chamber is not a misunderstanding, Holloway replies. Daniel remains near the wall, chains still binding his wrists and ankles. For the first time in years, he feels the power structure tilting away from him. Rains breathes hard, jaw clenched. His eyes move between Vance and Daniel. Lucas steps closer. "Why did you draw?" Rains says nothing. Titan shifts his stance slightly. Not aggressive but present. Rains glances at the dog, then at Daniel. "You think this is about you?" Rains snaps suddenly. "You walked into something you weren't supposed to see." The room stills. Vance stiffens. "Mark." But Rains is no longer careful. "That warehouse wasn't a standard raid," he says through clenched teeth. "It was controlled inventory. Of books. Evidence seizures not logged properly." Dr. Porter leans forward. Lucas watches silently. Rains exhales hard. "We were adjusting numbers. Confiscations. Seizures. Kept funding streams alive. Everyone benefited." Daniel feels the pieces sliding into place. "Thomas Ridley found out," Daniel says quietly. "The fallen officer from that night." Rains's eyes flicker. "He wasn't supposed to be there," Rains mutters. "He threatened to report discrepancies." Vance cuts in sharply. "Enough." But the authority has shifted. The guards are no longer looking to him for direction. Rains continues, voice cracking under pressure. "You showed up early, Mercer. You and that dog. You activated your camera." Daniel's breath catches. "You were not scheduled for that section," Rains continues. "You weren't meant to see anything." "And the stabbing?" Lucas asks. Rains looks down at his wrapped wrist. "You wouldn't stay down." The memory aligns fully now. The blade in Daniel's shoulder. The voice at his ear. "Stay down." Rains swallows hard. "I didn't shoot Ridley. That was." His eyes flick briefly toward Vance. The silence says more than the unfinished sentence. Vance steps back slightly, face pale for the first time. Holloway speaks with precision. "Deputy Commissioner, you will remain present. State investigators are being contacted." Within minutes, calls are made. Not through Vance. Through direct channels. The Attorney General's office is notified of an armed incident during scheduled execution and credible evidence of potential wrongful conviction. Body cameras in the chamber remain active. Lucas speaks again. The body cam footage from the warehouse. It was manually activated. Dr. Porter nods. If activated, it created a digital footprint. Holloway orders a forensic request through the state IT division. Within the hour, confirmation returns. Server logs show manual deletion of a file at the exact timestamp Daniel activated his camera. The authorization code traces back to an administrative override. Assigned to Deputy Commissioner Harold Vance. The room does not erupt. Grows colder. Vance opens his mouth, then closes it again. This proves nothing about intent, he says weakly. It proves interference, Holloway replies. Raines lowers his head. It was supposed to be clean. You were already bleeding. The narrative was obvious. You shot Ridley in a dispute. The dog barked. It made sense. Daniel feels the weight of that sentence more than the chains ever did. Made sense. Titan shifts closer to Lucas but remains disciplined. The execution clock is officially paused. A formal stay is issued pending emergency judicial review. Not overturned. Not erased. Daniel's classification changes in real time from condemned inmate to subject of criminal review. Guards reposition, but no longer to escort him toward death. Instead, they reposition around Vance and Raines. Raines is formally placed under arrest for attempted discharge of a firearm inside a correctional facility and obstruction. Vance is informed he is under investigation for evidence tampering and administrative misconduct. The transformation is procedural, documented, legal. No sudden miracle. Just the system correcting itself under undeniable pressure. Margaret Holloway walks slowly toward Daniel. The room is quiet now except for the faint hum of ventilation. She stops in front of him. For a moment she studies his face. The man who stood hours from death because of a narrative that fit too neatly. Then she reaches forward. One cuff key. A single turn. The metal releases around his wrists. Then his ankles. The sound of chains falling to the floor is louder than the gunshot had been. Daniel rubs his wrists slowly, stunned. Mr. Mercer, Holloway says evenly, you are no longer scheduled for execution pending review. The respect is subtle but present. Lucas looks to her. Permission. She nods once. Titan, Lucas says softly. Free. The leash slackens. Titan moves forward at controlled speed, not rushing, not jumping. Daniel drops slowly to one knee. For a split second both hesitate. Then Titan closes the final step. He presses his forehead against Daniel's chest. No bark. No drama. Just wait. Just breath. Daniel wraps his arms carefully around the aging German shepherd, fingers sinking into familiar fur. You saved me, he whispers. Titan exhales heavily against him. Around them, officers stand in silence. The dog did not rewrite the law. He did not argue a case. He did not speak. He remembered. And he refused to ignore what he knew. By late afternoon, the execution chamber is sealed for forensic review. Ceiling tiles are removed. The discharged round is logged. Statements are taken. Every second of footage is preserved. Daniel Mercer is no longer escorted in chains toward a death protocol. Instead, he is transferred under protective supervision to a secure review unit within the same facility. The legal status is precise. Execution stayed pending emergency judicial review. His conviction is not erased in a dramatic sweep. It is suspended under formal inquiry. The difference matters. Outside the facility gates, media vans multiply. Word spreads quickly. An armed corrections lieutenant drawing a weapon during an execution review. Allegations of deleted evidence. K9 alert that shifted the narrative. Daniel walks out of the execution wing flanked not by guards forcing him forward, but by officials guiding him through procedure. Titan walks at Sergeant Lucas Grant's side. Cameras flash as Daniel steps briefly into public view. The image is stark. A man who was hours from death walking upright beside the German shepherd who challenged the story that condemned him. Lucas later gives a formal statement regarding Titan's training record. He outlines Titan's certification history, deployment record, documented 0 false positive alerts in official operations. Calm, factual, unemotional. The reliability of the dog is established through record, not sentiment. Deputy Commissioner Harold Vance is placed on administrative leave pending criminal investigation. Lieutenant Mark Rains is formally charged. The process begins the way justice always should have, through documentation, evidence, and accountability. Warden Margaret Holloway addresses the press briefly, careful with her words. Justice must never fear truth, she says evenly. When new evidence presents itself, it is our obligation to examine it fully. No theatrics, no grandstanding. Just acknowledgement that something almost irreversible was interrupted. Hours later, after statements are taken and paperwork filed, Daniel is granted a brief supervised period in a secured courtyard within the review unit. No cameras. No witnesses beyond Lucas standing at a respectful distance. Daniel lowers himself onto a concrete bench. The sun is setting now, casting long shadows across the yard. Titan approaches without command this time. Older, slower, but steady. Daniel pats his knee once, softly. Titan steps forward and rests his head in Daniel's lap. The weight is familiar, solid, grounding. Daniel's hands move slowly through Titan's fur, tracing the line of his ears, the shape of his skull. The same hands that were cuffed only hours earlier now move freely. You stayed, Daniel whispers. Titan exhales heavily, a deep tired breath, and closes his eyes. There is no need for bark or signal now. The courtyard is quiet except for distant doors closing and evening air moving across brick. Daniel feels the reality settling in. Not full freedom yet, not complete redemption but possibility. A path forward built on facts that cannot be ignored. Titan shifts slightly, adjusting his weight, and presses closer. The system almost ended Daniel's life because the story made sense. But truth does not always arrive through speeches or courtroom drama. Sometimes it arrives through instinct sharpened by loyalty. Sometimes it arrives in the form of a dog who refuses to forget what he saw. Daniel rests his forehead lightly against Titan's. And in the stillness of that courtyard, one truth stands steady above the noise of accusation and fear. Loyalty does not need a voice to speak the truth.